That's true.
And the other one that was in the bathroom with her that night was Mrs. Leary.
Was it Mrs. Larkin, a librarian? Wasn't she a librarian?
No,
Mrs. Larkin?
you didn't know this Mrs. Larkin. No,
She was on-
her husband was, he sold blocks of ice.
Ray Larkin?
Yeah.
The Iceman.
Mom was always very involved with the old Sacred Heart, and then the new Sacred Heart Hospital when it was the Irish folks. But my father was always content to be home. He was not.
Somebody was asking me about that Sacred Heart connection just last week. What was she doing? How did she get involved in the building?
She was active when they only had the small little house there years before that. And then she became a volunteer. She worked in that a little shop years back. But before that, they were always right now with that
The synagogue, they had a big home there.
And Mrs. Scott, Genevieve Scott, up in on Highland Avenue.
Is my memory wrong?
History of brothers and sisters of Mama.
Oh, Aunt
Who
Nora.
ended up here in this country and left.
Aunt Nora was
Aunt Nora, and then, of course, Mary Stuckey.
Yeah, that was a Mary also. But it was just the
No,
three.
she,
What was her name?
Catherine.
But there was only 3 girls. She
Well,
had,
Mama's brother stayed in the
Stayed at
house.
home.
He stayed in
so there was
the
1 brother and 3 sisters.
Yeah, right.
We talk about Pop being a stay-at-home guy, he was. Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but once he landed in this country, in Philadelphia, the furthest he ever traveled from that point was about 125 miles to see me get married over in Long Island, New York.
Right, oh,
And I don't think he ever went further than 125 miles from the point where he landed in this
No, I
country.
don't remember him going over to visit Aunt Julia.
Oh, yeah, he did.
Yeah, but-
I was with him there.
Yeah, but Aunt Joy's was 99 miles away. This was a long trip, it was 125 miles. And he made that trip, and that was it. Oh, that was, that was a
And
long
I
trip.
think they had a very special relationship there with Aunt Nora and Uncle Packy being nearby, and then Uncle Jimmy and Mary Stuckey's, stepmother being there, and Mary, and then all the other people on the street were like family. Everybody gathered.
Were they really family, or were they just by name aunt or whatever?
Well, let's see.
Three sisters, but now, like Aunt Kate that had and Uncle Pat, they were not in our family, but they were related to Uncle Jimmy, who married Mother's sister. But we labeled them as aunt.
And then correct that point, they did not come into Ellis Island?
No, they did not.
Neither.
Neither one?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then also the Mortimers. I mean, they were very close with Cousin Katie and Martin.
Not related?
Yeah, oh yeah, my mother, Cousin Katie, and were first cousins. First cousins, yeah, and very close with them. Yeah.
So just as they clung together, that's how we cling together, with family and aunts and uncles. So
Tell me something about Tommy Joe. That was
Mama's nephew.
No, so her brother that stayed behind in Ireland.
That's
his son. Tommy Joe's father.
Michael, isn't it? Tommy Joe's father, Michael?
yes.
Yeah. And Pop brother had that land in Ireland. And he had 1 son. And when Pop's brother passed away, for some reason his son went to England. And the ground was sort of just left there. And then he came back, and I don't know, maybe he wasn't too well or not, but Pop's cousin, who had the adjoining land, they got all of that ground. They got out Pop's place.
No, that made
Oh, yeah, that's in Cosal.
Is that Pat's father? Patrick, did we mention?
Yes, yes. So they have that plus all of what they had of their own. So
That's Kilsalla.
That's in Kilsalla, yeah.
Tell us about.
No, when I'm saying not Kilsalla, excuse me, Joe. Carrera. Carrera. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Did they change that name to Cara Kennedy?
No. So that's that road, Cara Kennedy, I think you take going down there. I think that's right, isn't it, Kathy?
I thought it was the road to Dean Ann, but.
No, the road to Lean In, yeah, but isn't there Cara Kennedy from there somewhere?
Tell us about Mom and Pop's parents.
I'll tell you, I know very little about my father's. He never spoke really that much about it. As I said, his father had died before he was born, then it was just his mother. And he never really said too much about that. He probably died before he was.
Do you know their names?
Geez, I do know.
Yeah, who made up that book?
It was
Yeah,
O'Malley.
Yeah, but I have it now. No, I don't know that I have that at home. I have a picture of her. That
His mother.
my father's mother, and that she must have posed at some studio or where, I can't imagine, because she's got all this head.
On her, treat her
She
like a
always said
princess.
that,
She
yeah.
always said that. She had her own horse, too.
Yeah, her mother died when she was 2. So
Then he remarried.
but she always said that her father really, as you say, drew on her. Yeah.
And tell that story, maybe everybody who heard it, about the girl who had the real pretty dress that my mom locked in the outhouse behind the schoolhouse. And
Oh, geez, Joe, I don't know that. Oh, no, who was that? Did she tell you this?
when we came back from Ireland, from our trip, and she was on her deathbed then, and brought back the pictures and told her the schoolhouse was still there. She was happy to hear about the schoolhouse, but wanted to know if this little outhouse was there, where there was one girl who had pretty dresses, and Mom was really jealous of her and locked her in the outhouse.
That could be true.
Well, I'll tell you the truth, after you see where that one schoolhouse is, and where their home was, how they ever got there, especially in bad weather, probably you wonder if they even had shoes for their feet. Because when I was there, Tommy Joe pointed out to me a creek that was running down by their house. And he brought me over. And he said, Noreen, see this? And I said, yeah. He said, well, that's where your mother washed her face every morning before she went to school. He said, and so did I. And I mean, he's a perfect gentleman today. I thought, boy, I tell you, people saying you can't rise above something. When you see that, you know you can do it.
I gotta tell you, about 1984, with video camera at Thanksgiving, sat there and videotaped my mom did this exact same thing. So questions about where she came from and where she met Pop-Up, we have.
Oh, you know.
It have. What I remember is we're asking what ship she came on and where she came. And you're thinking of all these transatlantic voyages. And said, Mom, that must have been tough. She says, Jimmy, we partied the whole way. We had a grand time. Yeah, so she went through the whole thing.
Who has that tape? Tom?
I do.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay.
Well, you have the.
I'll have to make copies and send it around.
I knew Tom did too. Didn't he for Rudy? I don't know. You don't remember that?
She said they partied the whole way.
Yeah, oh, yes, she always claimed that they went up on the upper deck and danced. Yeah.
She told me how they threw oranges up to the ceiling.
Oh. Yeah.
She said she had a good time.
Yeah.
What year did she come over? She was 16.
Yeah, what did she want? Well, her date of birth is sort of, we go by, what, 1894, is that it?
That's what you guys got.
Yeah. So, what was it?
what about this January 1st day?
Well, yeah, I don't know that, what?
94 and 16.
Yeah, it'd be 1910, Bill said.
Yeah.
She had told me once about her papers coming over on the Titanic.
Yes, that's true.
Tell us that story.
Well, they were, evidently, she was going to get married, and she needed some proof, and I guess she had written home or something for whatever she needed sent, but they didn't arrive because they said they had gone down on the Titanic. Yeah, but she always
like to fish that up.
Yeah, yeah. My father really wasn't one to sit around and
He had no time.
Quiet.
He worked, he cut hair, and he sold shoes.
What's this cut here?
Cut hair bit.
He gave haircuts to us all.
Oh, just you? Did he have a business?
No.
And you better not flinch when he's cutting your hair.
Not only that, Mary, but he cut a lot of hair for the kids in the neighborhood. He'd have us stand in the backyard on an Orange Street, and he'd have those clippers like that. He couldn't cut grass with them.
I know I'd walk up to
But
this
they weren't actually scissors.
walk up
They
this
were-
place up in Chester, where was it? They used to belts and make their shoes.
I think I
Put
got
their
him.
soles on. What the Briggs is, remember?
What's that?
We'd go up to Briggs's up there in
Yeah.
Chester, and you'd find that old green leather,
Green leather, the soul.
put them cobble things in their shoes.
And he was a brewmaster too. He made his own.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, well, they all had that.
Really
Just for himself or
No, just
self-sufficient, you know.
Self.
only for himself?
Made root beer, too.
Yeah.
Be sitting up in the living room, and you hear all the corks popping off. Yeah.
Now, when we went to Ireland, somebody in Papa's family told us that before he came to America, he went to Scotland.
That could be true, Kathy. I think he may have. I think
He didn't have the money.
Did you come?
So
Yeah,
we went to Scotland to work a year,
yeah.
make the money to come.
Didn't I say to you, Bill, I thought I had some recollection of him saying that he had gone to Scotland. Yeah. But there again, I think there's only one side there that they mentioned of that, yeah. Anyway, they worked hard, and I guess, however they got the money together to get, well, first of all, they lived down on 6th Street.
What's the same address?
Same address, and then
Same
it
address
was
as
through
10th
Austin O'Malley, who was from Ireland, your mom's place.
But wasn't related?
Yeah, Austin O'Malley was related, yeah. He was a cousin. And he encouraged them to buy the house on 10th Street. Yeah, and they lived 6 months down on 6th Street, they rented. And then after that, I guess I don't know how much of a down payment they needed, but that's when they bought the house. But it was,
6 through 2820 also.
yeah,
Yes, it was.
but it was through him really that,
And,
he
it
encouraged
had
them.
the electricity and the running water and the bathroom. That's what he helped. Hardwood floors. But that's how he encouraged him. It had the bathroom in the 6th Street was outdoor plumbing.
Yes. Large room.
Yes.
Yeah. And another thing I always remember is when they used to have the house parties. I guess I was only really
Oh, for
young.
God Res Church, right? Every house had that, didn't they, Lenore? Every week, different house.
We'd have a party
Right.
to get $10
Yeah.
and donate it to the church.
Right. I also-
Probably gave more in food than
I